Welcome back. Well, before I get into the plague of lice, I want to mention something very interesting about the plague of frogs. You might remember in the first video regarding the plague of blood that I referred to two seals opened by two angels, unleashing a plague of blood over the sea, and then a similar plague over the fresh waters of the world sometime in the future. Now, if you open up Sefer Gilyana, that is the book of Revelation, and go to Perek 16 and look at Pasuk 13 through 14, that is verses 13 through 14, and you'll see something very intriguing. The Pasukim states, "And I saw three unclean spirits like Sephardim, frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the Navi Sheker, that is the false prophet. They are the Ruach Shadim, that is demonic spirits, that perform signs and go out to the kings of the whole world, to gather them for battle on Yom HaGadol, that is the great day of Hashem Zavaot, which is the Almighty." Now, did you see the word frogs there? So as I was saying in my first video on the plague of blood, it is important to study the plagues of Egypt to see a blueprint of what is to happen sometime in the future. Now, I won't speculate any further on these passages from Revelation because it employs a lot of symbolism. Suffice it to say, did you also notice that they came from the mouth of other beings, similar to how the frogs came from the mouth of one huge frog that leapt out onto the land according to the Midrash? This is extremely interesting stuff. Now, my daughter Hannah also asked about the Hebrew safety during the plague of frogs, particularly the women and the children. Now, Goshen was not affected by the plagues and remained insular from each catastrophe. If the Mitzrites fled there, they would still not be safe. How so? Well, the water was blood wherever they drank, unless it was purchased from a Hebrew, as I noted in my first video, and the massive frogs literally barred their way to Goshen, or if they could get through them, they would usually choke on the frogs by the time they got there. The frogs would actually develop in the saliva and even the sweat of the Mitzrites, and did not do so for the Hebrews. And during the plague of wild animals, none of the animals would attack the Hebrews no matter where they were. And if a Mitzrite fled to Goshen during the plague of hail, the fiery hailstones would pinpoint a Mitzrite like a guided missile as he ran, killing him instantly. But I don't want to get into that stuff yet, as we are going to look at each plague one at a time. Okay, now for the plague of lice. As with the plague of blood, Moshe did not want to strike the land with his rod, as the earth served him in the past, in hiding for at least a period of time the body of the Mitzrite that he struck after he saw him attack a Hebrew. Hashem knew this, and he was pleased with his refrain in the first plague, of which he was commanded to strike the water, and appointed Aaron directly to commence this plague by striking the earth. This next plague would come without warning, as punishment to Paro for not heeding the two prior warnings that he got. This plague manifested from the dust of the earth, and the entire land of Mitzrayim, with the exception of Goshen, would become a constant seething mass of countless lice, measuring 4 feet in depth on the earth. There were various species of lice, some staying at the size of smaller than a barleycorn, and others amassing to the size of a hen or a goose's egg. They feasted on the flesh of the Mitzrites, and the animals grew wide mantles of lice, causing them to collapse under the sheer weight. The magicians could not duplicate this miracle at all, because all their miracles required an object greater than the size of a barleycorn, and their incantations required that their feet be firmly standing on the earth, which they were unable to achieve. Furthermore, they could not stop scratching long enough, much less concentrate, to do any of their spells. Subsequently, many people actually died from scratching, rubbing their backs against walls until the blood flowed profusely, even plunging themselves into the Nile, which had not fully recovered from the blood and the frogs, was to no avail. Each Mitzrite carried around 30 pounds of lice on their bodies, getting in everywhere, causing them blindness. Many people went mad, and those who did survive would carry scars on their bodies from the bites and itching for the rest of their lives, if they survived the next 7 plagues. There was complete mayhem everywhere. Many of the Mitzrite babies could not be protected from this and the last plague, and many died. So many of the Egyptian babies and infants actually ended up dying by the time these plagues were through. This plague was retribution against the Mitzrites, who prevented the Hebrews from bathing, causing them to develop lice, and they also made them constantly sweep dirt from the streets and collect dirt for bricks pretty much 24/7. This time around, Paro's magicians would admit defeat, stating that they could do nothing to prevent or mitigate the lice, and some of them even had the courage to confess that Moshe and Aaron were not using sorcery through it all, but that it was the hand of Hashem. Subsequently, Paro would no longer call on the magicians for their guidance for the rest of the plagues. If you like the content of this channel, get a hold of this book. It is literally jam-packed with information you will not find in most Torah publications. Its pages include topics like the fable of the money-hungry Jew, the lie that propelled the Holocaust, the real root of anti-Semitism, rightly dividing Mashiach, which contains startling truths about the Messiah you will not read anywhere else, Judaism in the New Testament, updated information about the creation of the Golem and the false Messiah, the commandment to wage war, the truth about the Shield of David, a compendium of all the false teachings in the Messianic movement to help you navigate what is truth, biblical capital punishment, and why you should be frightened of sinning, the significance of the land of Israel, the obligations of the student, the eye in the triangle, sanctified sex, how to think like a Jew, and much, much more. There is also an updated chapter 1, and along with all the other chapters, has hundreds of footnotes and references. This is a book that took 10 years to research and compile, and will be a welcome addition to the library of any discerning student of Torah and Mashiach. Get it today on Amazon and other online bookstores. Bye for now.